let us discuss volcanoes. We know that almost all rocks, like maybe igneous, sedimentary, and metamorphic rocks, which were formed by the volcanic activity. Particularly, we see in igneous formations, igneous rocks which were formed by the volcanoes only. That means the volcanic activity it is required. The igneous material how it will become towards, or igneous material how it will become towards. It has a huge amount of fluids and hard material, like and again it is a composition of different gases. So, those gases were escaped whenever it is reached to the surface in the form of lava. Then it was distributed to throughout surface. Then slowly it is getting the crystallization. Later that the gases which are escaped, then it is converting into the crystal particles. So, here the main term it is related to the volcano material. Volcano material. The term volcano, where it has come? Yes, it has come from Vulcan. He was a Roman god. Then we had to apply this is to Mount Etna in Cilicia, and some of the volcanoes are Laperi islands, which are located in the north of Cilicia. There it was started the volcanic formation and volcanoes. The name of volcano generally, if we can apply that, it will become from the surface and which develops around the central vent, and which maybe have a fissure material. That means the material it has a huge amount of pressure, and it will become through magmatic material, and it will be travel through the vent, and sometimes maybe it is ejecting by the intermediate material also. So, finally, it will be settled down on a surface as a solid material. The solid material which is accumulates and which is formed around the vent and conduit, it is formed as a conduit and build up one cone structure. Then where the cone structure it should be increased, and maybe it is going to be increased in a size until maybe huge volcanic mountain is formed. Here slowly the volcanic mountains which are forming in this way, a cone constructed, it is known as a volcano, and it has a volcanic material. It has volcanic material particularly. So, that we are calling the solid material whatever it was formed from this cone, it is known as a volcano. Then sometimes maybe we see examples, like example for Mount Kilimanjaro. It has a huge height, approximately 6,380 meters, and again Mount Fuji and Mount Mayon. These are all the having the perfect conical shape. Then maybe sometimes you can see in a Hawaiian islands. The Hawaiian islands also having the volcano material particularly, and which are having the height approximately 4,200 meters. Maybe we will calling it is as a above sea level, mean sea level, average mean sea level we will measure the height. Then sometimes we will consider the same with comparison or with differentiate with the Pacific. Maybe the Pacific depth approximately it contain 4,002 to about around 5,400 meters of a depth. Not almost all volcanoes are active. Uh, some may are in active, or some are not, or some are maybe it is in a extinct position, like as a Mount Shasta and Mount Rainier, and one more it is a Mount Hood. These are all the examples, and sometimes maybe we see the same in a nearby the Cascade Ranges in western United States, those Mount Etna in Silici, and it is an active volcano where it is Mount Etna. It is located in Silici. Then it was a active volcano, and it is building the high amount of mountain, and it has a huge amount of volcano material. Every well developed volcanic cone, it has a nearer to the volcano crater. Volcano crater will be forming on top of the volcano. Sometimes maybe it is look like as a funnel shaped. Funnel, I hope you have an idea of funnel. So the funnel, it is a open top, and it will be come towards down, it has a narrow shaped. So from this is a funnel type material, it will be the huge amount of material, it will become from downwards with having a rapid pressure, so that it will blast in the cone of a crater sometimes. So what is happening, the mouth it will be wide, then the material suddenly it will become through, this is a narrow tube or a narrow conduit, the pressure maybe it will be increased because of the pressure, huge amount of pressure it is creating in a core. So the liquid material it will be transported very rapidly, and then it will be blasted to outside, and it will be distributed throughout the area. So then slowly it is getting the cooling down, then I mean it is getting the very slowly crystallization. So that what is happening, the funnel type of a structure will be created at the time. Then the gases also it has gases means here almost the magma, it is a composition or it is association of different gases, almost like sulfur dioxide, maximum huge amount of sulfur dioxide, and carbon monoxide and carbon dioxide. These are the major gases which are released from the magma material. That means magma it will become very deeper level, and it is bringing the huge amount of gases to the surface, so that once it will be erupted onto the surface, the gases were escaped into the nature, then it is getting the very I mean it is going to be crystallized very slowly. In volcanic eruptions, not only eruption now, I mean it is releasing the huge amount of hot gases, and sometimes maybe is fragmental materials also it will be distributed or thrown at outside, because of the rapid explosion will be happen through the funnel shape, so that some round structures are spherical type of structure of material it will be released to outside. Those we are calling the blastic material. We are calling as a blastic material, it is known as a pyroblastic, it is known as a pyroblastic, or later we are calling that is as a pyroclastic material. It is I mean total, finally we are calling the word, it is known as a pyroclastic. And the lava composition, yes, the lava it is a containing different types of compositions or different material, we will see when it is passes through, this is a funnel type of shape or a cone shaped structure, the lava pair whenever it will be exported to outside, we will see in the masses of a scoria structure, or sometimes maybe we see it is in a volcanic bombs, depend on their sizes. Then volcanic products, what are the volcanic products? The volcanic products, I told you just now, there is a different gases will be released to outside, I mean it's contain different gases, and rock fragments in different sizes also we will see, and The lava, not only that one, the small grain of a material also it will be included in that one. Sometimes maybe the gases like carbon dioxide, hydrogens, carbon monoxide, a very less amount of oxygen and chlorine, sulfurs and hydrogen sulfides will be releasing from this material. As well as the pyroclastic materials. The pyroclastic materials which are blown into the air or exploded or which are having the explosive activity of volcanoes, and which are showered down the various distances from the cone, or maybe it is a cone shaped, or maybe these are all released from the funnel type of shape. So, that here the grain size it is required while it is releasing to outside. The sizes maybe it is a fine volcanic material or a fine dust material, or maybe sometimes maybe we see in ash type of material, depend on their grain sizes which are released to outside in the form of volcanic bombs. So, depend on their size and shapes, actually we will see 4 types. The pieces maybe if it is above the 32 size, these 32 size we will calling those are all blocks, we are calling as a blocks. Then sometimes maybe we see the same material in a round shaped or elliptical shaped, or sometime maybe it is a spheroidal shape, we will see those are called as a bombs. And third category, actually these 32 size, it's also the bombs also sometime in some of the areas are having the 32 of size, or in a third category we will see lapilli or cinders, or on cinders also. The size maybe it is almost it is 32 to reducing, we are coming from top to down, reducing level up to 4 size, between that 32 to 4 size, between that size we will decide that category as a lapilli. Fourth one category, it is a very small size, almost look like as a dust, like dust particles. So, such those amounts we are calling as a ashes. Yes, the size it is almost 4 to 1 by 4th it look like as a very fine material. And again the below the 0.4 or below the 1 by 4th of a size, it is known as a dust. It has very fine grain texture. The bombs, lapilli, cinders, almost all we will see nearby the volcanic vent and volcanic areas. Only the surrounding areas we are able to identify these type of material. Actually it is surrounding, or it is creating the round structure which are forming in a round structure. So, it is a look like as a cone. So that this term or the structure, it is known as a volcanic cone. It is known as a volcanic cone. The dust material, what is happening, it is formed from far away from the cone. So, next one, it is lavas. Actually what it is lava? What is lava? We know that lava, and again as well as magma, there is a differentiation between two terms. Magma, it will be stored and it will be come from the inner core level. We know that earth, it is divided in a three parts. One, it is a crust, second one it is a mantle, and third one it is a core. So, the core again it is divided into the two parts. From this two parts means, one it is a outer core and second one it is a inner core. From the inner core we will almost we will get nearby the 6,370 kilometers of the depth it has. From that depth, the material whatever you see, it is in completely in a red color, and it has a very hot fluid material. It has hot fluid material. So, what I told you, due to this is disturbances of inside of earth. So, these liquid material, it is getting the pressure moment or the fluctuation of a temperature and the pressure. The liquid material, it will become through the vents or through the fractures within the earth. So, this material we know that it is known as a magma. So, whenever it is reached to the surface, with a huge amount of a temperature, then once if it will become towards the surface or above the surface, the material, it is known as a lava. So, through this is volcanoes, the rock material which will be formed, or which will become through the vent, the material, it is known as a lava. So, almost all as a magma, it will become very deeper levels, and it is bringing the huge amount of gases and other mineralogical compositions, and they will be settled down and spread over the surface, and which are getting the very slowly cool down or a crystallization. Based on that, the different types of rock formations will be occur on a surface. So, here that is one part. The surface almost it is consisting of different blocks and points. Some blocks we will see it is chalcoitic blocks, are some of the areas we will see sharp points. So, those sharp points are those blocks will known as block lavas. It is a block lavas. Then the block lava compositions, how it is look like. The block lava and other formations which are will see the surface. The surface, it has very smooth surface. It's look like a very fine material on a surface. So, that is a reason the surface we will see it is in very smooth, and sometimes maybe it is getting the rugged material on a surface. So, at the time the ropey movement will be occur in that one. So, ropey structures will be forming. So, such type of lavas we are calling as a ropey lavas. We will observe these ropey lavas in Hawaii island. The same ropey flows which are formed under the surface, or sometimes maybe it is a chilling of covered by the water, or it is a consolidate with a different structures. It is consolidation different structures which are jumped, and sometimes maybe the same ropey structure which are associated by the different materials. So, that the rough the smooth, it will be become very rough. Up and down structures will be formed. Those up and down structures are some of the areas having a smoothness surface and look like as a pillow. So, these structures we know that that is as a pillow like of a structure, or pillow type of a lava also. Pillow type of a lava. Previous one, it is a one ropey lava, and this one it is a pillow structure of a lava. So, then the pillow structures where we will see these type of structures. Nearby submarine areas or submarine lavas which are containing these pillow like structures, and which we will see in a geosynclinal sedimental areas. Geosyncline sediment areas, that means nearby the oceanic areas, the sediments will be forming due to other activities. The sediments will be forming, that means the disintegrated parts of from original parts, those are all will be consolidated and they will form at a place, and the small sediment formation will be look nearby the ocean basin areas. There suddenly if lava if suddenly volcanic eruptions will be occur into that area, the ashes material, the fine material will be attaching with this one, and then layer by layer they are going to be formed. So, that the sediment formation will be seen along the ocean basin areas. The mountain of magma, the molten of magma, it is depend upon their compositions. Here that the compositions may be different types of compositions which are associating silica rich material. Maybe silica rich material means more and more silica percentage will be there in that one. Next, chemical composition of magmas, if you can see in that magma in that one, the nature it is required to us, whether it is a rhyolitic composition or maybe it is a basaltic composition, or maybe sometimes the silica percentage it is mid. So, such type of formation it is called as a intermediate rock, or sometimes maybe the silica percentage it is very less, those rocks also will see. So, finally, the silica composition, sometimes silica composition it is playing the very important role while the rock forming. And next, coming to the volcanic eruptions and cones, where the volcanic eruptions will occur and how the cones were formed. The volcanic eruptions of volcano, sometimes maybe it is preceded by the earthquakes and loud rumbling like thunder, and may it is a continue on a gangetic scale during the course of eruption. Volcanic eruptions are broadly categorized in a two types. One it is central eruptions, and second one it is the fissure eruptions. The majority of the present day volcanoes which are belongs to the central type of volcanic. By the during of the certain period of geological time, the fissure type of eruptions have poured out of a lava. Volcanoes with the familiar cone and crater, these two structures are very important role and which are playing in the formation of central type of eruptions. What it is a reason maybe to formation of the same, because of the volcanic activity, maybe sometimes it is centralized around the pipe like structure. So, at the time so that at the time the central type of structures or a central type of volcanic eruptions will be occurred. Then types of volcanoes. The types of volcanoes based on the formation of volcanoes, we will categorize four types. One, it is the shield volcano. One, it is the shield volcano. Second one, it is the cinder cones, and third one, and it is a composite cones, and with strato volcanoes also, strato volcano cones also. So, based on the amount of volcanic material, how much it will be released to outside, and then depend on their structure and depend on their composition. This are all the playing the important role. Why we will classify this one? The first one, it is a shield volcano. In a shield volcano, it has a high amount of fluidal material, and it is known as a lava also. When it is extruded, I mean it will become at outside the volcano, it will become through a pipeline structure or through a pipe, and it is maintaining one shape, and it is maintaining one shape. At the same time, it is going to give a structure, dome type structure, so that the dome structures will be forming here. These dome structures are called shield volcano. It is called as a shield volcano. Shield volcanoes are which are built primarily, the composition wise, if you see, it is known as a basaltic. What are the best example for this one? The best example for this one, it is Mount Loa. Where it is located means it is located in Hawaii Islands. Same. Yeah, second one, it is a cinder cones. In a cinder cones, the name it was suggesting on the name of cinders, which are built at the same. It is ejected by the different rock fragments, and again it is unconsolidation of material released from these cones. I told you that a pyroclastic material. the huge amount of material suddenly it will be erupted to outside, and like an example for bombs. So here such type of material which are released to outside, though such type of material it is known as a pyroclastic material, and then it is maintaining some angle. That means suppose example for 30 to 40 degrees angle it is mentioning. So based on this 30 to 40 degrees angle, the material it will be erupted to outside. This is so that the steep less slopes will be forming, steep less slope because of angle it is very less here. Sometimes maybe some of the volcanic eruptions which are occurred above the 45 degrees. So above the 45 degrees means approximately nearby the 60 to 70 degrees maybe we can see which are having these steeps, but here less steep slopes are formed by the maintaining by this angle. And third one it is composite cones. These volcanoes which are having the alternate layers. Because of alternate layer means what is happening, sometimes the lava it will be uh, erupted to outside, and sometimes it will be not, and after some time again the same lava it will be erupted, the gap it is forming here. So the gap it is forming here means the layer it is going to be formed, layer by layer it is having the composition. So again so that the composition maybe it is vary from first layer to the top layer. So that is also playing very important role here. One more example for this one, Skate Mountain, and the Skate Mountain we will observe in Japan, and again it is Fujiyama also, Fujiyama also that will be see in the same country, and approximately it has a 2700 meters of a height. Just we can imagine the layer by layer the volcanic material which are going to be formed. So the composition it will also different there. And one more it is a fissure eruption. In a fissure eruption most of the volcanic eruptions which are formed through this is a central vent arc, and it is a familiar formation. The huge amount of compositions will be released to outside, and again it is nearby the cone, this amount will be formed, this amount will be formed. Again what is happening, it will be forming nearby the cone, at the same time the material it will become continuously. So the additional material whatever it is giving to the same pressure previously I mean existed formation, so that the along this is the boundaries whatever mineralogical compositions will getting the melt, and if those material it will be intruded into this one. So here these differentiations we need to identify here. In the previous case it was not like that. And one more it is next coming to the volcanic activity. The volcanic activity again depend on their formations, and depend on their internal material, and depend on their internal structure of earth, and the playing of or utilizing of a temperature and pressure. The volcanologists were divided. Again it is 6 types of volcanoes. One it is Hawaiian type, and second one it is Strombolian, third one it is Volcanian, fourth one it is Vesuvian, fifth one it is Plinian, and sixth one it is Plinian. Hawaiian type it is a midst phase of activity, and it is associating of different, or it is a association of many volcanoes, and we will see these type of volcanoes in Hawaiian Islands. Next one it is a second one, it is a Strombolian. Strombolian maximum the lava it will be exposed into the air. The huge amount of air it the huge amount of lava it will be exposed into the air, and again through this is a crater formation, different gases will be released and those gases are particularly which are having the escaping nature, escaping nature. So, sometimes moderately maybe due to the internal forces, sometimes moderately exploded will be happen. It is not bringing it is not bringing the huge amount of gases, because of a example for if you see the fissure type of eruptions, suddenly it will be happen and then suddenly the huge amount of material it is released to outside and it will get dispersed and distributed throughout the area. The huge amount of gases were escaped into the nature. But compare with that one Strombolian, it is not like that. Gradual stages it has. So, the less amount of gases will be releasing in this case. Vulcanian type, yeah, this is this phase activity by the volcano in Lapari or Lipari Islands. In Lipari Islands, the material it is more viscous here. It's a more viscous, it has a more viscous, and again why it is a viscous, it has a viscous material, maybe depend on their compositions of a lava material. If it is a siliceous material is, silica material, if it is the more, but it is not look like as a viscous, but here ferrous material maybe if it is high in this one, so that it is a look like as a viscous. So, viscous more viscous material will be available, or more viscous material will be there in this one. Then Vesuvian type. In a Vesuvian type, it is a extension of a Strombolian. It is an extension of a Strombolian. In a Strombolian case, gradually the gases were released, less gases were released to outside. But here also, but almost it is a similar to that, but sometimes maybe depend on their internal activity of material, it is giving the more explosive also. The remaining two, one it is a Plinian and second one it is Pelian. So, these are all forming as a cloud or denser formations, but compare with the previous one which are not danger, and then the material it is also having the very less, and the gases also will be released very less. These are all, this is the overall view of volcanic material.